Hi guys, hope you're all keeping well. This is a slightly delayed recording of our live podcast that Gemma and I did on our YouTube channel. We had a couple of technical issues at the start, which is why it comes in at a kind of weird place. While we're all inside, Gemma and I are going to do a few more live podcasts, so if you want to be notified about those, head to our YouTube channel and subscribe and get the bell on, and then you'll get a little notification whenever we're going to go live. But without further ado, enjoy the podcast. Cheers, guys. Bye.
If you like this podcast and want to support more episodes, you can donate through Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Children of the Forest to show your support for the Forest School podcast.
At the moment, and it's birds. Birds are everywhere. And I think that's one of the things that I quite like about them as an easily accessible way into what's happening. You know, you don't have to go to a woodland to see birds.
Yeah.
And I was spending a little bit of time thinking about, can I think of a place in the UK at least where you would go like, well, there's no bird life there at all. Can you think of anywhere?
No. I can't.
Because even in the most remote Shetlands, you know, there are birds.
Yeah.
And it's a weird, you know, they're just, I can't think. There's something other about birds, isn't there? In a way that I think, because like animals that solely move on the land, you've got like an understanding of like, oh, that would be a hard hill, that would be an easy hill. But there's something about the sensation of understanding thermals or understanding like three-dimensional space in a different way. I just cannot, you know, maybe a helicopter pilot would understand it.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you think they would understand, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause they can do that same thing. And I was just thinking about, like, there's something about being outside, and the longer you're outside, and we often try and get the kids listening to different bird calls and like recognizing them, you know, and whether that's a quick way that we do those things is through giving them little phrases. And I was struck because my little boy now does your pigeon. Well, I get it from you, but did you get your pigeon thing? Did you make it up, or is it from somewhere?
No, it's from somewhere. You know, just from the ether. My toe bleeds, Betty. My toe bleeds, Betty. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which my 2-year-old now runs around saying.
Yay.
Which
Well,
is,
we've made up some as well, though, haven't we?
We have. Well, I think that's part of it, isn't it? It's making up ones. We realised that like a lot of ours are teaching based because you've got to make them relevant.
Oh yeah, no, teacher. That's not. We didn't make that one up though. That's the standard one. But well, your me, your blue tit.
Me.
Yeah.
That's the blue tit just going for it.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't worked in education in some or childcare in some way, might not be a good reference for you. My wife says it's she doesn't get them. She doesn't get those bird call things. But she also doesn't like and gets quite angry about constellations.
Yeah, same thing. It is the same thing. It's anthropomorphizing things, isn't it?
Oh, but she gets so irate. She's like, they're not a picture. They're not saying that. I'm like, no, but that's how you've got to make sense of the world, haven't you?
Yeah. You've got to turn it into a pattern. It's all about patterns, isn't it, for humans? That's how you know. Yeah. And I think since doing it, then so like we made up Goldcrest the other day, which we said says, I can sing, listen to me now. I can sing, listen to me now. But the Goldcrests in my garden don't do that. They have their own dialect. So it's still a Goldcrest, but I can only recognise that it's still a Goldcrest through hearing the Goldcrest in the woods enough times and pegging it to that mnemonic. Is it just a mnemonic? Would you call it that?
I don't know. Let go with mnemonic. No, I won't correct you.
Okay. So having done that enough times and heard that enough times, I can recognise enough similarity in the Goldcrest in my garden having
Yeah.
pegged that from the woods. But before that, I wouldn't have been able to tell that was the same bird, because I could just call it a dialect, is different enough for it to sound. It doesn't say, I can sing, listen to me now. It's a different pattern, but it's.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was thinking about, you saying teaching the kids the songs. So
Yeah.
I can remember when I just started being forest school leader, and that was like my complete weak spot. I remember going like, I'm all right on trees and I'm getting better and I'm getting a bit of sense of plants, but birds, it was just like not only could I not match a call to a species, I couldn't even pick out a call really. And on a very loud day in the woods, I would just hear just song, just like noise, and I wouldn't be able to like pull out each individual song.
Well, I think one of the difficult things about that is I would say, two most common birds for a lot of the UK would be robins and blackbirds, and neither of them have, like, if you hear a woodpecker, you know it's a woodpecker. There's no confusing that. If you hear a great tit and you get that that is a great tit. But like a robin, just whatever they fancy, or like a wren. Is it a wren that just goes like, whatever I feel like today?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the difficulties about it is if you try to go with like, what's in your garden, it's really hard to learn a robin and to learn a blackbird and a wren and that kind of. I mean, I'm sure it's different in other parts of the world.
What helps though is to like intentionally listen through the seasons. So especially if you start intentionally listening in winter, your garden or the woods or your same walk kind of route every day or every other day, as spring approaches, then you will notice when you hear a new sound, a new song, and so then you can peg that to a species more easily, and you realise, I haven't heard that for months. Like the chiffchaffs, just started singing last week, and I think that's a really good way of learning it. So through the winter, you can really familiarise yourself with robin and wren, for example, as two that will just be like singing their heads off the whole time, and then as new things are introduced, you can go, okay, that isn't a robin actually. I know that's not a robin because I know that sound. I've learnt that through the winter, and this is a new pattern. So I think that's quite a useful way to learn. It's definitely helped me this year. Like this year, I've noticed, and so it's been 4 years it's taken me of learning to get as far as I am now. Do you know what I mean? I think with any kind of like nature learning, or maybe learning in any field in particular, it kind of is the word exponential. So you might start really slowly and you're like, this is really, really hard. And then once you get a few down, then suddenly you become better at it. It's like learning a language, I guess, in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a bit like we had one of the children that comes in on a Saturday, and they were doing some woodworking, and Adam and I were talking about something. We were talking about some like woodland clearing, or like sometimes Adam that volunteers with that, he's got more of a knowledge of woodland management than I do, so I'll pick his brains and I'll go, you see that bit over there, can I make that any clearer, or if I take that one down, will it open and so we were talking about that, and we were pointing and obviously naming the trees and going, look, if I take that sweet chestnut out over there, will it fall into those oaks, or will it whatever? And one of the girls that was with us, she was like, I think she's about 10, and she just looked at us and she was like, how do you know what the trees are? How can you possibly know? And I was like, it just had gone past that point. And it's the same with birds, isn't it? Where from a complete novice point of view, I think she was looking at them and just going, they're all big brown sticks in the ground.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, and then I couldn't work out how to unpick it. It took me a minute. We just sort of stumbled around it. And I was like, it is that thing, isn't it? It's familiarity. It's being able to break the noise up into coherent pieces, I guess.
Yeah. And it's definitely about patterns, which in a way makes me kind of think of schema. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a kind of adult version of schema for me, that you're you become kind of fixated on something and notice similarities and kind of get stuck in a bit of a, it starts small. It's like a small circle of awareness, and then it becomes broader and broader. So you'll notice like one species of tree or bird or whatever a lot of times, and your brain will be alert to it, and you'll get your eye in for that. And once you've done that, you're then keen to kind of branch out to the next.
I think that's something that is an underappreciated way of learning, is that again, same with like flora and fauna, where you go, if you just learn about like if you really explicitly learn to identify hawthorn, the following week you would see hawthorn everywhere, because you wouldn't just see a bit of hedgerow, a bit of scrub. You'd be like, that's a hawthorn. Oh, look, that's a hawthorn. That's a hawthorn. And like, but what you can't do is sit down, open up, say, I've tried to do this before. You can't like open up Food for Free, read 30 pages, and then go, I will now go into the woods and I will know all these 15 plants I've just looked up. You have to do it one at a time, practice that learning, embed that learning.
Yep.
And then you can get into, picking it out.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes back to, I was talking to someone the other day about one of the interesting things, like, why is forest school still interesting? You and I have been doing it nearly 5 years. And there's other people that have been doing it much, much longer than that. And I think one of the appeals is that you are constantly learning, but that you have to constantly be learning because you can't cheat the learning. You can't go and do like a university short. I mean, you probably can, but it won't be the same as having been outside in woodland and listen and picked out birds. It's very, it's like earned knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like I said, there's no way I could have. I'm not positive that I could have just worked harder at identifying birdsong and done it in half the time. I think it has taken, for me anyway. Other people might be absolutely on it, and I guess it depends what knowledge you arrive with in the first place. But I don't think I could have fast tracked that. That is about being in the same place every day through the seasons 4 times, and it going in. And also I guess because you're learning loads of other stuff as well, so I think I probably I did trees first and then plants and then birds were. So why is that then? Why are birds third on that list? That's interesting,
because they're the only ones that can run away from you.
That's true. You don't get up close to them.
But you do sometimes. I mean, we've got some very bolshy robins, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah.
In the woods that are.
Yeah.
I think part of it as well is like one of the things that I found the most useful about reading Tristan. Oh, I always say Dooley or Gooley, and I can't remember. It's Gooley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is reading those is like, it helps clarify the noise if you try and think of a why, as well as like, what are you hearing? Like, why are you hearing it? Because you now get to the point. Well, I think I now get to the point in our woods at least where if I hear loads of crows, I am immediately turning around to go, what is it? What are you shouting about? Why are you? Because the crow's making a load of noise and flying away and doing whatever else is a sign that something is happening.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I think that's way more interesting than identifying the species, isn't it? It's trying to work out the language, what is going on. And that thing with the fingers about the, a song that says, I'm here and everything's great, everything's fantastic, or a song that means look over there, look over there, look over there, alarm call. This one I'm going to do this way around, meaning this is my place, go away, I'm in charge. And the ring finger being like, I love you, come nest with me. And the little one being, feed me. And we do that with groups, don't we? And it's then you don't need any like sciencey book knowledge. You don't need any like bird specialist knowledge. You just need to listen and try and interpret, which is a different thing altogether and very interesting. And then go on.
Oh, I was going to say, it makes it relevant in the same way that ethnobotany is a more engaging subject than botany.
Yeah.
Is because you're making it relevant to you. So you're giving yourself like a reason to have listened to the birds outside of the academic, just like, I can identify the call of this. But if you're like, oh, and I know a buzzard's coming, or, you know, oh, the it must be starting to, you know, I can remember the first one I think I learned was as a kid, growing up in, well, near Poole, in Dorset, and being just far inland that, so Poole is coastal for people that aren't from there, but being just far enough inland that if you saw a seagull, you knew it meant it was going to rain. Because they would come inland to get the worms as the rain made them come up out of the ground. So it was this weird signal of like seeing and hearing a seagull in the context of my home was a sign that it was going to rain. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think you can pick up on and kind of make like, oh, learning about birds is interesting because of how it can affect your daily life, or can. There's a I can't remember which culture it is, but there's one culture that has a big story about how the gods made birds to be the eyes for humans. It was like humans used to have sight over everything, and then they decided to live on the ground, but they couldn't see everything anymore. And so the gods put birds up in the sky so that we were supposed to be tuning in and listening.
Right. You know? Yeah. They're like our kind of sentinels.
That's cool. Which they are, aren't they, in a weird way?
Yeah.
And they're markers of other things. You know, they are markers of seasonal change and of weather change and temperature change and all those things.
Yeah. So this morning I went outside and heard this really freaky sound, and I thought it was my next door neighbour using some kind of tool that I'd never heard before.
Right.
And then I realised it was coming from the woods on the edge of my garden. And it was just the most insane noise. It was like a kind of rusty gate. I was trying to see if I could play it on the podcast, but I can't without it shutting down. It was like a kind of weird rusty gate sound, following by like loads of clicking and chirruping.
Best impression, please.
Okay.
I really hope someone's just tuned in. I really hope someone has just arrived.
Like. That was, and so I walked up to the woods and I was like, what the heck are those birds? There are 4 of them. They're quite big. And then I wondered if it was squirrels, because squirrels make some blooming weird noises sometimes. But there was definitely birds. There were 4 of them all sitting together. And then I thought, oh my God, it's hoopoes. Yes, get in. That is like amazing bird watching. Yes, hoopoes. The hoopoes you only see on the south coast, really, right? They're on their migration. They're kind of pink, pinky orange and black and white, and they've got this cool like mohawk of feathers like that. And they do say hoopoo, hoopoo. And I was like, maybe it's them. This is nuts. Mistake.
Okay, so carry on.
Hoops way rarer. They don't live here. They just pass. These jays were like doing this. And then they would so usually they're really shy. You might just see a flash of them through the woods, right? And then the really loud kind of crow-like squawk. But they were, and these guys were doing this weird sound, and then all sitting there really, really still. And I came really close to them. They didn't move at all. It was like they were having some weird meeting. It was. And definitely jays, and then occasionally they'd like fly and make the normal crow sound, but couldn't find anything about it online, couldn't find any, sent it to my dad, who's really good at birds. He was like, if you hadn't have told me these were jays, I would have had no idea. This is really weird and magical. And then my mum found it on some obscure like internet site of unusual calls. They sometimes do, but because of the things that we often do when we talk about birds, like what are they trying to say? Are they saying like alarm, alarm, alarm? Like absolutely no clue, like mystical shit with these mystical stuff going on.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Yeah, and it just like blew my mind, because I was like, they're very intelligent jays, aren't they? So they can they a bit like crows and ravens, they can plan for the future. They can they have object permanence. They do all that stuff about like stashing acorns for the future, and they remember where they've put them, and they do it on purpose. And they can sort different types of food into different food groups. They've done loads of really cool experiments with them.
Sorry, who's this? Jays or hoopoes?
Jays. This is jays, yeah.
Well, jays are corvids, aren't they? Corvids are a clever family.
Yeah. So super, super intelligent. I think they can think I read that they can like empathize. I don't know how the heck they work that out, but apparently they can. So knowing that they're really clever, so my kids are like doing some exciting bedtime routines, involving quite a lot of door slamming and crying.
It's the phone book, isn't it? That's how you put your children to sleep. It's just a solid phone book, and then they're out for 8 hours.
Yeah, so I was like, what? So they probably are doing something really like out there. Do you know what I mean? They're having like maybe they're having a wedding, a funeral, they're having some kind of like, you know, intense moment, a rare moment. And I saw that and it blew my mind.
I wonder if I mean, I'm sure I could look this up when I'm not live podcasting, but I wonder if corvids can inherently talk to each other.
What do you mean?
So like, can a raven and a jay
I see,
immediately understand what each other's calls are? Because I get that a lot of animals. Have you seen I think it was an Attenborough thing, but where it was like there's a bird that lives near meerkats, and it had learnt to make a certain call for a snake and a certain call for a like a bird of prey and a certain call for something else, and it was doing this really interesting thing where the bird would make a noise and the meerkats would listen to it and then would all run away.
Right, okay.
But then the bird had learnt to lie, so it would wait until the meerkats got like a big worm or something, like a slow worm, and then it would make the noise to be like, a bird's coming. All the meerkats drop it, run and hide, and this bird comes down and is like, thanks, you know, just absolutely played. But then it would do it another time afterwards, and the meerkats would be like, bird that cries bird.
Right.
You know, they wouldn't believe it after a certain amount of time. So I know there are things that animals can, like cross species can interpret each other's calls.
Yeah.
But I just wondered if inherently, could you take like a raven from Norwich and a jay from Devon, and would they be able to communicate?
Don't know. The accent would fool them, I reckon.
You think?
Yeah. Do you want a crow update? You know.
Oh yes, the crows that are attacking or worshipping your house.
Yeah.
We're not sure.
Trying to give me some kind of message. The update is that since we have been home, they are doing it a lot less, like smashing themselves against the window, except first thing in the morning. But I think the strategy of like leaning out the window and saying "not today, thanks," but quite loudly, like "not today, thanks. Don't need any more crows today, thanks anyway, bye." I think it is working, and but the fact that we're home is really like throwing them. They're not going to find a new place to smash because we're here.
I'm really hoping that it's that window behind you. Like if it happened when you were talking,
that'd be amazing.
It would have been incredible.
Wow.
Or just if one landed there and started sort of staring at you.
Yeah.
That would have made me really happy.
Yeah. Kabam.
Kabam.
Bam.
Is it quite a violent?
Yeah, it's really, really loud. It's like it obviously. I mean, maybe it hurts them. I don't know. They're really when they first started doing it 2 years ago. Blood on the. They don't do that anymore. Now they just like or cheek marks. Yeah. Who knows?
So, just to go off your crow problems for a second, one of the things to go back to what we were talking about of birds being messengers. One of the things that I thought about when I was thinking about like, what impact do birds have on me and whatever, and that's like that earned knowledge thing and that secret knowledge thing, and you and I were talking about before. I think it's in the Ruby Wax brain book, and they're talking about that bit of your brain that is always scanning for your name in a pub. And I wondered if it's the same, if you can, or if we have retuned our brains to include birds in that, because you and I both occasionally are like, what's the name of the dog in Up? You know, when he's midway through talking and he just goes like, squirrel, and he just... But you and I both do it to people that it looks like we're being really rude because we just stop talking or stop paying attention and immediately look at a tree or a noise or something that they won't have perceived. Yeah.
No, I don't. Yes, I think that's true. Neuroplasticity, man. Just rewind.
Yeah, but weird neuroplasticity to have done it cross species. It's a bit like have you seen the fishing birds in I don't want to be rude. I'm going to say an Asian country.
Yes.
When they go out on the canoe and it's like the heron knows that the seventh fish is for them. So they'll bring back
yeah.
6 to the boat and then they go, right, number 7 is for me, and they munch off and have that one. It's that weird kind of
symbiosis.
I was wondering when in our history birds would have done that. When, because you think about domesticating different animals, and domesticating birds is an interesting one. You know, are there actually domesticated birds? There must be. Yeah, but domesticated to the same degree as, like, well, I guess I was thinking like a dog where you can ask them to do things and they'll do it.
Carrier pigeons.
Carrier pigeons.
Racing pigeons.
Carrier pigeons, very useful in the war, but only if you've hurt your toe and you're sending it to your friend called Betty.
Yeah. Different kind of pigeon.
That's when they're useful.
Yeah, different pigeon.
They could be parrots.
Oh, Otto's saying domesticated parrots. Good point.
A parrot?
Yeah.
It's
Budgie.
See, my theory is that parrots have domesticated people. That, like, a parrot is just like playing you because it knows, like, oh, I make a silly noise and the human gives me food.
Do you know that a macaw, the ones that people used to have as pets and it's completely illegal now, are as intelligent as a 3-year-old human child?
Really?
Yep. And they fall in love with humans, so they form such a strong attachment and bond to a particular human that they will have like really extreme separation anxiety and smash up your house. They've got a beak that can break your finger, and they can like smash your telly. Like with their beak, they'll just go berserk because they attach to one person, and they hate everybody else. And unless they're with that person, they'll like just smash your house up.
This is not to do with birds, but on a very similar note, did you know that they've done this thing where they, when you put all those electrodes on someone's head and then you get them to look at different things. So the bit of your brain that lights up when you see pets, like dogs, cats, animals like that, is the same bit when an elephant sees a human, the same bit of their brain lights up.
Oh my God!
They think we are little puppies.
Oh my God, that's amazing. They think we're cute.
Yeah, they think we're like little pet animals.
That's amazing. I was laughing before you got to the end of that sentence because when I was pregnant with our first child, we went for our antenatal class, and the midwife, who I think was Spanish from memory, was talking about like our birth plans. We were doing like acting out of the breathing and what your partner's going to do and rub your back and all that kind of thing. And she was saying she was talking about putting on like relaxing music and things like that, and going, and I'm going to apologize for my rubbish Spanish accent, which like, and bring photographs to look at, like photos of your pets. If you have a photo of your cat, bring that with you, look at it, and it will help you push the baby out. I was like, why? But I think it is that it's oxytocin, isn't it? So oxytocin helps childbirth. And is that right? Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes.
It kicks everything off, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So, so if you look at your pets, you get a rush of oxytocin and it helps you push your baby out. So there you go. Does that mean that when elephants look at us, it makes their births easier? Oh, a little human.
Well, elephants are pregnant for something like 2 years.
Wow.
That's one of the reasons that they haven't been domesticated, is like it's not worth it.
Right.
Just to like generationally, you're like, what is the point? What is even the point? To bring it mildly back to Forest School.
Yeah.
Can you think of like particular bird-based activities that we've done that you were like, that really got kids connected with birds, or like that really helped me connect with birds?
I like Find Your Flock. That game we invented this spring, didn't we?
We did.
Where
after much play testing.
Yes, where we teach the kids a mnemonic for a bird call, and then they go off and they decide what bird they're going to be, don't they? Go off and hide. A bit like 1, 2, 3, where are you? But
it's like 1, 2, 3. It's like 2 concurrent games of 1, 2, 3, where are you, at the same time. So one team is going like dippa bippa bippa, and then everyone does it back, and then there's another team trying to do, I don't know, me 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 me, and then you're trying to find everyone who's making the same noise as you.
Yeah, find your flock. But last time we played it on Saturday, there was just like a rogue group of green woodpeckers who just really like,
oh yeah,
and they were just yaffling. They were just like, and we just wanted to be green woodpeckers so that we could be in any flock. And anyone
it was children. We should clarify. It was children,
yeah.
And they just wanted to like be a benign hindrance to the rest of the game, which was quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's very eerie as well. To one of the things that I like about that game is we did it a few times.
1 minute. I'm gonna shut the door. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah. It's one of the games that strikes me the quickest of like you can convince people at Forest School to be weird quite quickly.
Yeah.
So like very normal parents, very together people, and in the course of like 2 minutes, just by going like, this is the game and we're going to go and find each other, you can have someone on their own hiding under a tarp going me 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 me.
Yeah.
Like this is mental, and I love it.
I love that too. Yeah, it's like you have to break your inhibitions in order to play. Like it's if you invite people to like sing with us, then they're like, nah, I can just not do that, and you'll just do it for me, and I'll just sit there in silence, tapping my feet and nodding my head. But if they don't do it, the game literally doesn't work, so they have to do it, and then that's really good because it like releases serotonin and it makes it all like bondy and fun and nice. And once you've done that, then you're more free to put your hands in the mud or whatever.
Well, and it was really. I did it once with a group where, so I was being one of the finders, so I was going around and finding a load of children and their parents, and I was sort of collecting them as I went. So I went and found 2 of them, and then I went, right, should we sing again, and we'll find the next one, and we'll find this, and then I got to really clearly go, oh listen, there's a great tit is trying to join in, and it's throwing me off, and because they'd just been practicing it and been listening for it, they could hear it in a way that I think 5 minutes before they wouldn't have been able to hear it.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't have been able to tune into that. Yeah.
I also really love so I do it both in spring and in autumn with the swallows and house martins migrating, making swallows and house martins on with bits of paper and putting them on a stick and kids flying them around, which I guess you could do at any time of year with any type of bird. But there's something about, and I've seen loads of, basically it's just like make a bird and fly it around and play with it. And you can do that in loads of ways. And I've seen people have like made the body out of clay and stuck cardboard wings in, or
I guess it depends how permanent you want it to be as a toy. If you want it to be this cool, if you want it to be a more involved thing.
But there's definitely something about the like I've never done it and it like flop as an activity. I've never done it and kids have gone, yeah, I kind of see what you're doing, but no, I'm going to do this other thing. It's way more interesting. Like, even if it takes kids a while, by the end of it, every kid is running around with a bird on a stick and becoming the bird, making the bird's voice. And it's something about the paper and the weight of it in your hand and the distance. It's like I don't know.
I think it's like kite flying.
Like kite flying. That's a good analogy. And like there's loads of like the science and the art of puppetry, isn't there? And the weird things, the weird relationship between humans and puppets, and it being alive but not alive, and that it's weird, but I think that definitely happens with the birds, and it's this amazing kind of like embodiment, like the kids really become the bird and they automatically start talking about things like quick, run away because a predator animal's coming, or I need food, or
it's a bit. Have you ever seen the Maasai people in I can't think what country it is.
Kenya?
I want to say Kenya. When they I've seen a lot of documentaries filming them because they're some of the last like just hunters of that type, if you like. And I've seen a few clips of different ones where they're like tracking this animal, and then they sort of lose the trail, and so they have to internalize like becoming the animal and going like, well, I would have seen the bush that way, looks like that. And I think that is probably hardwired in us somewhere, is like you need to be able to think like an animal in order to find them. And so when you give people the birds, it's a part of that is like you're embodying this bird, and you immediately go, what would a bird's needs be? Oh, well, it would need this, and oh, it would be looking for a predator. And
that happens without you as a leader or an adult saying to the children, oh, where should we, where would my bird like to nest, or whatever. They spontaneously do that a lot of the time, which I find pretty amazing.
I think as well, doing it with swallows, it gives you a chance to talk about like interconnectedness of like the birds go really far away and then they come here and then they do whatever. But also, I think there's something about, are you aware of the ornithological term jizz?
You've told me about it, yeah.
So it's general impression, size, and shape, and they talk about being able to. So that's how you can tell if you can just see like the silhouette of a bird flying, and you're like, oh, that's a buzzard, and so, well, how do you know it's a buzzard? And you go, well, I can tell by its jizz.
Yeah.
And you have to then go like, it's but there's something about the shape of a swallow that's very evocative of like the way that piece of paper then flaps is the way that bird moves, in the way that like if you did a big buzzard or a blackbird, they don't, the paper wouldn't move like the bird does.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I do.
And it's an easy shape, isn't it, with the wings?
Yeah. Have you seen? This is kind of like. Have you seen Captain Fantastic, the film?
I have.
Have you? Okay, so I've still got 20 minutes left. I watched it last night and then got really tired. But Ed was laughing at me as we were watching it because he was just like, "This is like forest school and homeschooling. Like, is this what our kids are going to be like?"
Watch the last 20 minutes.
I will.
Because,
But yeah, they're more hiding in the bushes and jumping on the deer and killing it and stuff. It's like hilarious. It's funny.
It's watch the last 20 minutes before you make your decision.
Okay.
But I was gonna say, did you want to mention about your multiple attempts at nest building?
Oh yeah, sure.
Hang on, you tell the people. I'm just gonna nip to the loo.
Okay. I've got a weird nesting instinct. It's very strange. So in the woods, I just have this thing. I really want to make a massive nest with branches, like a human-sized nest, basically, and get the kids and families to help to make it, which we've done. And then we have done it often and played with the kind of bird puppets and used it in our games. So if like a predator bird is coming, we've all flown to the nest for safety and things like that. I've become like really attached to it, and I will just automatically gravitate to the nest and start adding bits to it. And if kids try and take bits off to do their den building, I'm like, any sticks but those. You cannot touch the nest. Do not break my nest apart. And it needs rebuilding now. And like every day when we're kind of like planning what we're going to do, I'll just say to Lewis like, and we could rebuild the nest. That's what we could do. I don't know why. Let's do. Yeah, I've done.
Do you like building nests?
Yeah, I've done it. I've said it. I said that every day recently we've been planning, and it has only been recently actually. It hasn't. It didn't occur to me over the winter, but since probably about February, when we've been planning, every day we've been planning, I've said to you, "How we could rebuild the nest? We could do that," and you've been like, "Yes."
I think it's because it does flop as an activity.
I know. It's my play. It's completely my play.
Also, that because I don't want to say I have no ownership. Maybe it is I have no ownership of it. But do you know what? It's very much like nature, isn't it? You spend a long time making a nest, and then at the slightest opportunity of fire lighting, I will encourage the kids to take the sticks off it and to make fires with them.
It's disrespectful. But also, I've been putting my own hair and my cat's fur out in the garden.
Oh God, I thought you were going to say, I thought you'd just been leaving it around the woods.
Not in the woods, but in my garden. And that makes me feel really strange that like there will be birds nest building with my hair. Like when you're supposed to take the hair off your hairbrush and put it in the garden for them to nest build with. But I gave myself a haircut and just put it all out there. It's quite weird. And I found it. I was like, what the heck's that? Oh, it's my hair. That's what it is. But yeah.
I'm going to go for the Radagast.
What's that?
He's got a bird's nest. I mean, I would have to grow my baldy head out, and then he's got like birds that nest in his beard, and the bird poo goes all the way down his beard.
That's
lovely.
Nice. Do you know in the dormouse nest that we found, which we haven't talked about either? Do you know that there was one of my hairs in that?
Was there?
One of my hairs in the dormouse nest, yeah. Weird.
Why?
I know.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I know.
Especially because it was very close to a dead squirrel. That's an odd thing to have kind of facilitated.
I think I finished now. I don't think I've got anything else left in my head to say.
No. But you know what? We barely talked about the world outside. It's a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a test of the system, and I think we've done it.
Yeah.
So maybe we're working on a book review, aren't we? If the people are inside.
Listening to
you haven't cracked it.
Well,
so I listened to it on double speed, and so I smashed it in 3 hours.
Oh, okay. That gives me hope.
It's very achievable.
Okay.
So I have listened to, and we are going to talk about at some point. I can't remember what it's called now. It's called The Amazing Power of Showing Up. And it's by, if you've read The Whole Brain Child, or I can't remember their other books, but those authors have written this new book about they've got 4 S's. It's a very good book. I won't go into it too much, but if you're having some downtime, Audible's got loads of free trials, so you can listen to it, or you could probably still get it delivered. Just order some milk or some eggs or something with it, and then it'll come really fast. And then you can read the book, and in maybe a week, or possibly a week and a bit more, we'll do a podcast and chat about it.
And it'll be good for all of us who are, suddenly pitched into homeschooling when we're not used to it, as well.
Yeah, it's a very good book. If you're at all interested in attachment and attachment theory, it is basically a very palatable book about attachment so far. But anyway, won't go into it now.
Yeah.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this podcast and want to support more episodes, you can donate through Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Children of the Forest to show your support for the Forest School podcast.